Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 1001 Nights of Lessons. I'm your host, Dildar. 1001 Nights of Lessons is a storytelling and self-development podcast, much like the OG Arabian Nights. We're here to unpack the stories of our lives that shaped us into who we are and to reflect lessons learned along the way. I wish you sweet dreams later today. Why? Because in today's episode, we're going to talk about dreams and what do our dreams really mean according to Freudian interpretation of dreams. I'm someone who've always been paying attention to my dreams a lot, whether it's dream journaling or having crazy dream experiences. I'll take the opportunity to share my personal dream stories, story times of all the times I've sleepwalked, scared the shit out of people around me. So I hope after hearing me analyzing my dreams with you, you can also find some answers on how to analyze your dreams. First, I thought it's important for us to understand fundamental principles of Sigmund Freud, according to his book, The Interpretation of Dreams. Sigmund Freud believed that dreams have psychological meaning deeply rooted from our subconscious mind, unconscious desires. Oftentimes, the best person to interpret our dreams is ourselves. Sigmund Freud encourages us to use free association method to really come up with theories ourselves of where our dreams come from. And guess what? Once we're conscious of our unconscious thoughts and desires, we will no longer dream about them because our mind is free of them in a way. In that sense, I see our dreams as our superpower. And if we're connected with our dreams, we are connected with even the unknown part of ourselves. Sigmund Freud explains the construct of dream, how it actually works. It's a framework called dream work. And dream work is a mental process that we do each and every single night that disguises the true meaning of dream by condensation, displacement, and symbolism. And it is to protect the dreamers from extreme anxiety and guilt by being exposed to the actual meaning of our subconscious mind. And that is why dreams are so random, seemingly absurd. I think it's important for us to pause and look deeper into how our brain disguises the true meanings of our psyche. The three methods that I just mentioned: condensation, displacement, and symbolism. What each of these actually mean. Condensation, it means that one element of our dream can represent multiple layers of feelings and things and object, and not just very one-dimensional. Displacement, this one is tricky. Basically, this is shifting emotional significance of your actual desire into something else that's less significant to be able to cope with what you're dreaming. For example, if you're frustrated with your partner or your boss, even your parents, you might be dreaming about yourself screaming at a bartender or like a random person. That is not the actual subject matter that is bothering you. I'm kind of nerding out about this, aren't I? Lastly, symbolism. This is very easy to comprehend. Our abstract and repressed thought processes can directly manifest into symbols that are impossible to correlate or trace back to. And these are ways our dreams mask our true desire and subconscious mind. I'd like to share the sponsor of today's episode. It is me. Follow the podcast 1001 Nights of Lessons wherever you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you've been enjoying the podcast, you can leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple. That would help me reach my goal of growing the podcast in 2025. Lastly, check out my vlog channel at Dildar Abdu, where I experiment on trying new things to improve my life 2 weeks at a time. I'll link everything in the show note. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. Let's go back into the episode. So next segment, I want to share a couple of common symbols that we all collectively dream about and what it means for humanity, for you and me. This is according to Freudian view. Number 1, flying. Am I right? We all dreamt about flying at one point. Flying means that you crave freedom and you crave to escape from constraints. Another explanation is something completely different, is that it could also sometimes mean repressed sexual desire and attention. But I would say, like, after just researching a little bit about Sigmund Freud's work, By that, I mean just a little bit. I'm by no means a psychology student or anything like that. He really connects everything to sex, everything to sexual desire a lot. And I feel like it's a little unnecessary. Maybe because he's a man, I don't know. Moving on to next symbol that I personally dreamt of a couple times, and I still remember those dreams, is dreaming of having babies of any sort. I was really curious what Freudian view thinks about this, and it's actually something that makes quite a lot of sense. Dreaming of baby means that you have this desire for new idea, which I love because I constantly do. The other explanation is pretty straightforward, that you could just have repressed thought on wanting to have a child, which I doubt was the case for me. I love how like each of these symbols, you can look at it two ways. One is something completely not related to the symbol. On the other hand, there's always this 50-50 chance that you're actually dreaming something directly associated to that. What does it mean when we dream of death of a loved one? It actually means unconsciously you want to feel independent from this person. You want it to be free of their control. Next one, I am dying to know why. Dreams about teeth falling out. Oh my God, I had this dream so many times and I thought something is wrong with my teeth. And something is. I'm currently fixing it wearing Invisalign. It just means you are anxious about something, your anxiety or fear of losing control or power. Lastly, dreams of being chased. It means that your consciousness is unsettled and some repressed fears are trying to creep out and come out. In your dream, you're just running away from literally your fears coming out to get you. And it manifested in this narrative, a movie of you're being chased, which is quite fascinating. And of course, there are so many more other symbols, but I just want to share a few that are very common. Now, I'm ready to share some of my crazy realistic dreams. One thing about my dream is that I don't know when I'm dreaming and they feel super real, colorful, detail, a world of its own. I often say that when I dream, I'm in a parallel universe. All of my dreams, they're on the two polar opposite spectrum. They're either super realistic, like real life scenario. It could very much happen on a Thursday type of dream, hyper realism, or complete opposite. Wildly, highly imaginative, straight out of a fantasy movie. Each one of these spectrum means something. When you have these kind of super realistic dreams, it means that your dream work process has failed to disguise and hide the underlying meaning of your subconsciousness. It often means that what you dream about is actually very close to your real intent. And the content of the dream could very well be directly tied to your recent experience about the subject. My narcissistic ass thought that I have crazy wild fantasy dream because I am a special imaginative fairy. But no, this is what's actually going on. So Sigmund Freud believes that the more creative is your dream, the more unbelievable is your dream, is a direct reflection of how hard your mind is working to trying to disguise what you're not ready to see, disguise your thoughts, your desire. The creative disguise of your dream equals strong censorship from your mind. I got a problem on my hand, basically, that I need to figure out what am I hiding from myself. These dreams could feel incredibly real because when I was dreaming of all of those fantastical things, I believed I was in those worlds. The high realism of these fantasy dreams directly reflect the emotional intensity. Although you are not ready to face your underlying desire or fear or whatever that is yet, your mind is trying to display the emotional truth. So high realism to convince you the emotional truth of what you're dreaming of. So don't dismiss it, even if it's so fantastical and not related to your waking life, because you remember how you felt in this dream and you would take it seriously when you wake up. Try to uncover the truth. Slowly but surely. Or just keep ignoring them and keep dreaming about these crazy, fantastic things. And that is how I ended up having so many fantastical dreams one after another without looking at the root causes of my life. So I'm going to share some of my fantastical dreams right now. They deserve a movie on their own. I call it the dinosaur bird in Red City. Let me take you back into that dream. In that dream, I am not a human being. I am a dinosaur bird. Huge feather, huge wings. My spine was just pitch black dark. My wings are gradient gray. Majestic. There's no doubt in my mind that I was not a dinosaur bird. To a point in my dream, when I was conversing with other dinosaur birds, I was not speaking Uyghur, my mother tongue, or English or Mandarin or anything. I was talking in bird language. Make podcast equipment more expensive, coding Tana Mojo. So I remember I was in a tribe of some other kinds of dinosaur bird, not my own family and direct tribal bird. Other foreign tribe was discussing among themselves, they're going to cross the ocean. And I needed to cross the ocean to get to the other side as well for some reason. So I decided to tag along. I was alone in this crowd of birds. Punctually at dawn, as planned, we began our voyage. I remember that we don't know what's on the other side. It's an unknown territory, but we needed to go there. We needed to leave, kind of like running away from something again, the escaping theme. I just remember the feeling of gliding over the ocean, and the clouds are so beautiful and cooling to my skin. I remember breathing in from my beacons. That's why this is just a whole parallel universe experience. It was a trip of a dream. We were flying super fast to a point the ocean beneath me was moving backwards. The further we flew, the darker the night has gotten. In the middle of the ocean, I just remember there were thunderstorms and the wave was so tall that it could swallow the entirety of all of us. And we were forced to fly really low and close to the water. There are points that I'm struggling to fight the tides and the waves. I was half drowning and half flying. The concept of time was warped in my dream as well. This whole voyage was days, hours after hours of hours. And finally, we reach the other city. And imagine Gotham City, okay? The shoreline of the city was just covered by industrial dust and pollution, and a red light was beaming over the skyscrapers and deserted buildings. Think mud, noise, siren, red light. That's what we saw. So the rest of the birds left and I became isolated. But I sustained an injury from fighting the water, the tide earlier. One of my wing is basically clipped. A whole chunk was missing. It was gruesome. But I managed to float and fly as much as I could among the city. I was just spooked by the overwhelmingness of the city as well. And eventually I couldn't fly anymore. I fell from the sky. I was tumbling down. The gravity was just grappling me, taking a hold of me. Eventually I got stuck in between alleyway, a narrow alleyway. Think murderous New York City alleyway. Oh my God, I just had an association right now. If I'm using free association, I could interpret this moment of me as a bird falling into the alley directly to the moment when I was drunk, spent a night in an alleyway, just lying down there and crying. It's parallel experience. I think that dream was processing what happened then. And I talked about that drunk experience in one of my Why I Stopped Drinking, my drunk experience episode. That's not why I stopped drinking, but you should check that episode out. I will link it in the show notes as well. Yeah, it all makes sense now. Yes. Oh my God, I love you, dreams. Because I was a giant dinosaur bird, mind you. So I was heavily panting and breathing. And I was like stuck in the alleyway, not comfortably lying down like a little pigeon. If anything, one of my wings was sticking out the building. My eyes were closer to the ground and peeking out and seeing lights outside shedding into the alleyway. And the last thing I remember and heard in that dream was me panting heavily. And I saw my feather and bird body expanding and collapsing again and again. And then my eyes go in and out. And the next time I blink, I woke up. Now, how do you recover from such a dream? Every time when I dream such a dream, the emotions were so intense. And what I dreamt about was so real, but so unimaginable at the same time that it would just derail my entire day. We had a moment of clarity while I was telling the dream by my mind freely associating it to a real life memory, which could mean something. Yeah, I have no idea what that dream means. It could mean so many things all at once. What do you think it means? And do you have similar dreams like this? Let me know. Let's just jump right into another dream that I remember that's very fantastical as well. The first scene of my dream, I remember I was working in a corporate world in one of these cubicles compartments. And mind you, at the time when I was dreaming about this, I didn't have a corporate job. And I think this, if I'm freely associating right now, could mean my repressed desire to be part of the corporate world, because it is true that when I was young, all I wanted is to have this corporate job, go to work 9 to 5 wearing heels and pencil skirts. Be careful what you wish for is all I have to say on that. I dreamt of myself working in one. Everything is just very Severance-like. I remember my outfit. I was wearing a gray pencil skirt with a tiny slit in the back, brown stockings, very 90s. And I looked down. I saw a very bizarre note on my desk that I know I didn't place it there. So I know like someone else put this note there. I opened the sticky note, and inside the note, it's a message, very simple, that says, "You are a mermaid." And for some reason, I got really unsettled by that. Instead of dismissing it, I know the significance of this note. I put it in my pocket. So the day is over. I finished my job. I walked out of the building. And that day, instead of doing my normal routine, I decided to take a walk along the beach. I held the white palm in my hands and dangling it as I walk. It was sunset time, dawn time. Everything is super cloudy and gray too, like no sun whatsoever. Not one of those beautiful sunsets. The whole time when I was walking along the beach, the only thing I was thinking about is the note. And I was holding it in my hand at that moment too. All of a sudden, I decided to take a leap of faith. And I walked into the ocean to test out if I'm a mermaid or not. I kept swimming and swimming deeper and deeper into the ocean. I must have blacked out or something. All of a sudden, when I wake up, I have a whole-blown mermaid tail. Tail green, cerulean, mauve green, all sorts of shades of green, breast out and everything. Next thing I remember is that I started to really trying to survive in this oceanic environment, get to know this whole underworld brand new. I made so many mermaid friends, sisterhoods. I slowly started to learn the ways of being a mermaid, and it was tough. It's chaos down there, you guys. I had to fight sharks all day, like be like that just to survive. I have to swim thousands of miles, and I made this cute little house at the bottom of the ocean sheerly with whale bones. It was tough, but I was proud of myself that I survived, and I started to kind of like the world of a mermaid. It was just like this whole other world I discovered and had to make a living by myself. At some point, I decided to return to the modern world, and I was living about my day, going back to that corporate job, pretending nothing happened. And then I found out my sister is missing. In real life, I do not have a sister. I have a brother. I decided I have a sister instead. My sister found out that I am a mermaid from the leftover note as an evidence, and she decided to go find me in the ocean because she believed that if I was a mermaid, she was a mermaid too. And I panicked, okay? I threw myself back into the ocean, crying and screaming no, because I don't want my sister to go through what I've been through. Wow, that's deep. Are you crying? Because I am. Especially knowing what I know now, what this dream could be disguising. And you know, I'm so proud of this mind that has somehow processed through that. And nowadays I am not dreaming of these things in such disguised messages. That means I'm healed. I just remember shooking my sister as a mermaid once I found her. Her tail was golden, different shades of gold. It was beautiful too. Although I was proud of her to try to be a mermaid and all, but I was warning her of like, you need to be careful. Like just this protective side of me was out. Yeah, so that was my mermaid fantastical dream. And I have so many of these. I could make a whole part 2 of this episode. But I don't know how boring is these dreams. There's a lot of dystopian ones too, where I'm running from the end of the world. And in those dystopian dreams, I'm oftentimes saving my brother, trying to survive with my brother at the end of the world. So I did a little research on what could these end of the world dream mean. End of the world means that you're searching for a new identity. You are hoping for a radical change in your life. Another layer for me personally, whenever these apocalyptic dreams happen, I was trying to save my brother. And it's different forms of end of the world too, each time. And this is a recurring dream for me. We're going to get into the meaning of recurring dream later. But Sigmund Freud says the fact that I'm trying to save a loved one, this symbol means you have this deep love and unconscious guilt towards that person, which makes total sense. Now, this is the perfect segue for the next dream topic, recurring dreams. Recurring dream, according to Sigmund Freud, signifies unresolved conflicts in your subconsciousness or past traumas of any kind and any degree and any intensity. It will keep recurring until your mind thinks that you're ready to overcome it. Your mind will make you dream about it in all sorts of different ways until you're not afraid of them anymore. And the quicker you face these trauma in real life, process them, you're reassuring your subconsciousness, hey, I see you. You're no longer subconsciousness. I can handle you, whatever it is. Then you will dream about it in lesser intensity and less frequency. This is what Sigmund Freud said, but I'm really, really proud to say I figured this out on my own. In one of these old episodes, I talked about dreaming about my ex over and over again until it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's because you're healing, babe. It's because your ex no longer mean anything to you other than a stranger you once loved. So dreaming about an ex over and over again is one type of trauma. I know, like there is a type of recurring dream I have till this day, ever so often. It is a very deep trauma that I have that I cannot talk about it here because it's so much bigger than me and it's a uncontrollable factor. It's not that if I face it, it will be resolved. It's not interpersonal in that way, but it is a trauma regardless. I doubt that this recurring dream will ever go away because, as I know, this deeply rooted trauma will never go away anytime soon. So until it does, I will keep dreaming about this godforsaken, horrific nightmare again and again until that situation get better. Me being aware of what it is makes me feel better when I wake up and I just nod to myself of like, okay, yeah. This is just my body doing its best to cope with a reality I cannot change. It is powerful to know, at least. Everyone is carrying around different baggages in life, happened to us without us asking for it. So that's that. See those recurring dreams as a sign to work on something. If you can work on it, that is. I mentioned earlier that I'm a sleepwalker and I'm a sleep talker. Past 10 years, I haven't actually sleepwalked, but I sleepwalked with witnesses retelling me what happened 2 times in my life. And I will tell you those experiences. In terms of sleep talking, recently Jenny visited me, my friend, and she stayed with me. And she told me that I scream every other night in my dream. I suspect it's one of those recurring nightmares. Sigmund Freud doesn't have too much on sleepwalk or sleep talk, except for this one comment that he thinks people who sleepwalk and sleep talk experience the dream so intensely, the emotion and the realism aspect, that their neural circuit are confused. They physically act out, whether vocally or behavioral wise, in the real world. To me, no offense, Sigmund Freud, that's kind of a basic explanation. Let's get into my sleepwalk experience specifically. First time I ever sleepwalked when I was in middle school, I think. I actually remember the dream a little bit. So I just remember opening my eyes and I was being lifted by my dad back to my bed. And I was like, what are you doing? And I didn't ask too much question. I'm just like, okay. And I fell back to sleep. And the next morning, my dad, my mom, they were asking me, do you remember what happened? So basically, I woke up in the middle of the night and I start banging the door of my brother, my little brother. My brother must have been a toddler, barely old enough to sleep in his own room. And imagine the fear when all of a sudden someone is banging on the door and he thought it was some sort of intruder. My poor brother locked the door and hid between the pod and the bed. Pod is like the heated system, and almost got stuck in there. All thanks to me. My mom found him shivering in the morning, still scared. It turns out like I couldn't get that door to open, so I start knocking on my parents' door, okay? So when they were describing that, another memory clicked back into me. I remember my mom and dad, like my dad, like very scaredly opened the door looking at me. I remember that face. So in that moment, maybe it was the pain of my hand knocking the door or something. I did wake up for a split second because I remember registering what happened and slipped back into sleepwalking again. That's when I actually collapsed, and that's when my dad was hugging me back to my own bed, and then me waking up again, seeing him putting me back to the bed. So that was a whole experience. And the dream I remember that night was something about like saving my family, escaping again. Okay, but I don't remember any details. Fast forward in college, I lived with 6 girls together in a dorm, and we all lived bunker beds up and down. I slept on the lower bunker. Let me tell you from what I remember backwards. That morning I woke up, I just saw all 5 of the girls sitting around my bed looking at me with Bambi eyes, blinking. I was like, what is going on? You guys love me or something? This is so cute. A warm good morning. Hello. One of the girls suddenly turned serious. You seriously don't remember what happened? They all don't believe that I don't remember what happened. They thought I know what I did and I was fully awake. But I wasn't. I don't remember anything. One by one, they start telling bits of the story. They're finishing each other's sentences. One girl was telling me how I first screamed so loud, and it was my scream that woke her up. All of a sudden, she saw me shoot myself back to seated position and keep screaming. Imagine, and then sit back. She thought I saw some intruder or something, and she was super scared. She grabbed a knife from the common counter and put it under her pillow and hid back under her quilt because she has no idea what was happening. Then another girl told me that I start getting out of the bag, throw the quilt away, and walk to the girl who's at the furthest side of the room, close to the door, who's lying down at the lower bunker. And I was staring at her. Her name is Becky. I remember that still. She was so scared. Becky was like, Dildar, what are you doing? Hello? She said my eyes were open. I was just staring at her. I was not saying anything or doing anything. From Becky's POV, how scary is that? I walked myself back and kept sleeping. I completely don't remember any of that, obviously. My friend who listened to me scream said, have you ever thought about being an actor? I was like, why? She said, your screams were so good. I could see you in a horror movie. And if any director is listening, I'll try my best. Hey, that's everything I want to share. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.